Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg in the same film, I am there. Made in America is wonderful. I loved it. I don't necessarily agree that it's very realistic or even the best way people should behave. Specifically talking about the ending, which I will discuss with a spoiler warning. But despite that, despite the fact that I'm normally really nitpicky as a writer and I need narratives to be polished and make sense, even though that's not necessarily the case here, I loved it because it's heartwarming, it's funny when it needs to be, and emotional at the other times, and it's just, it filled me with so much warm fuzziness. This was released in 1993, directed by Richard Benjamin, and it's about a girl called Zora, played by Nia Long, who finds out that her father was actually a sperm donor, and the man she thought was her father wasn't. He died, and then Zora's mother, obviously despaired and lost in the world, decided to have a child. And she went to a sperm bank, and the product was, of course, Zora. And Zora, having just found this out, wants to find out who her father is. So she takes extreme lengths to try and get that information. And it turns out that the information she retrieves says that her father is a white man, not the black man that her mother had asked for. Her mother, of course, being Sarah, played by Whoopi Goldberg, and that man is Hal Jackson, played by Ted Danson. But is she ready to meet him? Is he ready to accept that he has a child? Obviously, when you're a sperm donor, there's meant to be that anonymity. But, well, Zora did things she shouldn't have done to get that information. So needless to say, Hal Jackson is a bit like, what on earth is going on here? And Zora's mother's not exactly happy. And she kind of takes it out on Hal, even though it's not Hal's fault that the sperm bank gave her the sperm of a white man. But she kind of just goes nuts on him. And there are some brilliant scenes between Whoopi Goldberg and Ted Danson, some which I won't mention because they're spoilers, but I just thought it was absolutely fabulous. The acting in this is great. Will Smith as Tea Cake, I loved him. He's absolutely brilliant, and his character was wonderful as well. He often provided a lot of the comic relief during the times when tensions were high between certain characters, and I just love the role, I love the character. He was brilliant. But obviously, the big question is, will Hal Jackson be her father, her daddy, or is he going to never see her again? And I won't answer those questions. I will in a moment, of course, with a spoiler warning, but I found it to be pretty moving and unpredictable and very well done. And just any scene between Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg, I just lapped up. I just loved it so much. It is unrealistic. You do have to suspend disbelief, and the pacing, I'm not entirely sure exactly how many days this takes place over, but it's pretty quick, and a lot happens in that short space of time that makes the characters' actions very unbelievable, and normally that would annoy me. But because I was just so invested in the story and wanted to know what would happen, I didn't mind. I could let it go. So I do recommend it. It's on Disney Plus. Definitely check it out. Spoilers from now. I'm going to discuss what happens at the end and why I don't think it makes any sense, and I don't think it's something that I would normally like. But again, it's Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg. I realise my love for them makes me biased. So spoilers from now. I'm going to discuss at the end. At the very end, at the graduation ceremony, Hal comes along and helps Sarah up on stage, after her accident, and he tells Zora that he's her dad. And the message there is sweet, and, anybody can be a father, as in all it takes is sperm, but it takes a special kind of somebody to be a dad, to be somebody's parent in that role, and even though they're not, blood relatives, he has become a father figure in her life. And I think that's a nice message. There's more to being a dad than just being the sperm donor, which I think is a great message. And, especially nowadays, we always champion there's no such thing as a typical family, mother, father, 2.5 children. Families just don't look like that anymore. And this is a great way of saying, hey, this is Zora's family. These are her parents. It's not traditional. Who cares? But because this happened over a short space of time, I do feel like Hal has just made a commitment to be this girl's father when he's got no connection to her whatsoever, and it's slightly weird and unbelievable and not realistic, and something I feel like he's rushed into. So ordinarily I'd think it was an appalling ending, because would you just be somebody's parent when you've known them for, I don't know, a few weeks, and you find out that there's nothing biologically connecting you? It just doesn't make any sense. But because it was such a moving ending, and because I'd bought into the characters now so emotionally invested in their journey, I thought it was so sweet and so moving. And ultimately, as I said, a really nice message that just because the person is not related to you biologically, it doesn't mean they can't be a parent to you. And I think that that's such a... people say you can't choose your family. Of course you can. Because family doesn't necessarily mean being blood related. And this film definitely makes a good attempt at showing that. Really moving. Not a perfect film. But the things that weren't perfect, I could completely overlook. Definitely watch it. I know I spoiled the ending now. But if you haven't seen it and you're still listening to me, give it a watch. Especially if you like anybody who's in it. I think you'll find it very easy to be emotionally invested in the characters and their journey, and hopefully that will be enough to allow you to overlook the imperfections with the narrative. Personally, I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I wouldn't mind watching it again.